How's it going, my brother?
If I were any better, I think I'd be Ken Weaver.
He's doing good.
He seems to be in a really good mood this Friday afternoon.
You know, he is. I saw him earlier today with bananas and saltine crackers, so I don't know. That might have gotten him in a good mood. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm going for the fine dining today.
Yeah.
Well, you need some weenies on it there.
Yes, sir. I do.
Vienna sausages, man, oh man. There's only one thing that I like better than Vienna sausages, Jay. And that's
fried bologna.
Nah, well, okay. There's two. Oh, I just thought there's two things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say sardines and mustard, but fried bologna probably beats both of them. Jay, I watched a little of the Masters, and it reminded me of those greens that we were playing on last week.
Well, I don't think they're that fast, but they're faster than they have been. Those greens. I would love to play that course sometime. Spencer has played over there a couple of times.
Oh, our mutual friend Spencer has played there.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I guess I know some other people who play, just hadn't talked about it. But yeah, I hear the greens are just crazy.
Yeah, the big question, and for you golf fans, you'll appreciate this. And if you're not a golf fan, just indulge us for about 2 minutes. It's like Jay and I talk about NASCAR. So anyway, the question, I love this, right?
I know what you're going to say. I think
you talking about putting them on the green.
Yeah, if an amateur golfer started on the green every hole, and a pro was playing 7,200 yards from the tees,
right?
Could the amateur win?
And the consensus is no. I mean, if it's like I'm probably a 20 handicap, but somebody like me, and you just start on the green, furthest from the hole that you can get on the green,
right?
And all you have to do is 4-putt. I mean, really, or 3-putt. I mean,
let's see, 430. No, 4 would be 72, so you'd have to beat that.
Yeah, you'd probably have to 3-putt a couple of them. I don't know.
3.5 putt. Yeah.
There's always been a question, and I don't think Augusta National would ever do this. I think the players did it one time where they tried to figure out. I've talked about this before. They tried to figure out back in the late 80s the worst golfer in the world. Mm-hmm. And what they did is that you had to document like a certain number of rounds. They didn't want any people that had never played, right?
Right, sure.
But they brought some people in, some qualifiers in, and they had them play. And they had two people when they got to that island green, Jay.
Yeah,
one of the guys he could hit the green, but it wouldn't stay,
right?
Because he had to use like a 5-wood to do it. Yeah. And so, and he had to finish the round. So eventually he chipped it around the walkway.
Oh, so there is a way you can get there on land.
Oh yeah, there's a little walkway, a little path, and so he had to chip it all the way around to the back of the green and go up the path in order. And I think he made. I mean, I'm not kidding. I think he made like a 50 on that hole.
That's funny.
Jay, I want to get to calls, obviously, and a lot of folks are already lining up. But just curious, your initial reaction, Judge, in this case, the immigration case involving this documented foreign national who had some documentation, but at the same time, the Trump administration said, look, you don't just get carte blanche. You're a guest over here, and if you violate the rules of the conditions of you being over here, you can be deported. And apparently a judge today has agreed with that. Back down in Louisiana, that the Trump administration has the ability to deport, what's his name? Mahmoud Khalil. This is this New York guy that was stirring up trouble at Columbia University. I mean, does that surprise you at all?
No, it doesn't. He must have been here on a visa. I'm not familiar with the facts of that case, man. But visas are by permission. No one has no foreign nationals have the absolute right to enter the United States. Nobody does. Mm-hmm. Everyone is here by permission, and that permission can be withdrawn. Now there's probably some outer constitutional limits to that, man. I hadn't studied that law in depth. But for example, could they just deport someone because of their political views? I'm inclined to say yes, so long as they get a hearing. They do get this sort of process. That's what happened. This guy that they mistakenly sent down to the prison in El Salvador, the Supreme Court just ruled on that and said, well, you admit you made a mistake, and you should have provided him process before you did that. And in fact, I think if you had done that, you would have realized he was not eligible to be deported. So they have some procedural rights, man. But no foreign national has a constitutional or statutory right to be in this country. Visas can be revoked.
That's well said. That's well said. I love that. I also love that we've got them lined up, Jay, so I'm going to go to them. I'm going to just get out of the way and let folks ask questions of our man. He's our legal expert. He is my life consultant, gambling buddy, and my best friend, Jay St. Clair. He's also a good Tennessee man. I'm going to avoid talking about Tennessee football today. Have you seen this? There's up here. It probably hadn't gotten on the radar screen down there. Up here, this is a big story.
Well, money, it's the money's always been under the surface the whole time, man. Well, it's right out front now, and it's going to. I don't want to say it's going to ruin the game, but it's sure going to change it.
Yeah, and I will say this about it. And for those who haven't heard, for Tennessee football fans out there that haven't heard, apparently we've got a quarterback, Nico, that's kind of holding out, I guess. He's not going to practice, and he wants to renegotiate his contract. And that all of those words seem very weird to say about college football players, but that's where we are, I guess, Well, hopefully it'll shake itself out pretty quickly. Let's talk first to Mike in Murfreesboro, who has a question for our man, Jay St. Clair. Hey, Mike.
Good afternoon, guys. Appreciate and I always love this segment when you do it, Matt. Thank you. Jay, I was in court yesterday with my ex-wife. She was found contempt for non-payment of child support, for non-payment of back arrears child support, for non-payment of arrears, lawyers' fees, and court costs. The judge ordered her in contempt, and now she is wanted and will be going to jail. Her purge is $10,500 and something.
Right.
With that, now the other part will be he ruled as a judgment. The attorney fees and court costs is judgment. How does that work now? Will I have to go back to court to fulfill that judgment?
Yeah, well, yes. What's going to happen, I suspect, is if she can't pay it right away, he's going to put her in jail.
Yeah, he did say she's going to jail whenever they catch her.
That's right, and that's the way they do it. It may seem a little bit odd. Well, how can they pay for it in jail? But here's the idea, Mike: is that when people get put in jail, they have to find a way of coming up with money.
Right, exactly right.
That's right, and so as far as the judgment goes, she won't go to jail for that. It will be your obligation to collect that judgment. And it's not an easy thing, Mike. You have to record it. You could maybe probably do it yourself. I tell you, probably the best solution for that, Mike, is to get in touch with one of these debt collection agencies. That's what they do for a living. And they'll charge you probably 10% or maybe a little bit more than that. I bet if you shop around, you'll get somebody that'll charge you 10%. It's what they do for a living, Mike, is they go collect these debts. And the way it works is they garnish their wages. They find out where they work and they issue a garnishment, and then they take out so much money every week. So that's your best solution to that. If she doesn't just pay it.
Then hiring my attorney again to go after.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's right, because they're set up to do that. It's what they do for a living, and there's a lot of competition in that field, so the prices are pretty reasonable. I would just I've got a client, a Coca-Cola, a guy who's my client, Coca-Cola, $10,000. I told him just go to one of these debt recovery companies.
Right.
Cheapest way to do it.
That sounds like a good idea. Didn't think about that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
As always, appreciate
Mike.
the answers, and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Mike, I love that you're from Murfreesboro. My dad was born in Murfreesboro. I spent a lot of time there as a kid. I bet Murfreesboro looks a little bit different right now than it did in 1965.
Everybody that lives in Murfreesboro and works in Nashville, and I'm not just talking about Ken Weaver. But everybody that lives down there and works up here, they talk about how much they love Murfreesboro. and how much they hate I-24.
Yeah,
it's a weird dynamic, but yes, Murfreesboro.
Well, there's actually a St Clair Street in Murfreesboro.
Really?
And I think it was named after my grandfather.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to go find that sign, Jay. I'll steal that sign for you.
Oh, we stole it a bunch as kids. Absolutely.
I bet you did. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
8138 wants to know if Murfreesboro was the capital of Tennessee. I have a hard time believing that.
I think it was at one time. Yeah, I think I've heard that.
Wow. Well, 8138 wants to know if it was the capital when Jay's dad lived there. And I'm here to tell you, Jay's old, but he's not that old, y'all. Come on. I figured you'd like that. Let's see. Your calls, obviously, 615-737-9986. And we've got a number of folks asking questions on the super text line as well. But right now, it's Brian's turn in Thompson Station with Jay St. Clair. Hey, Brian. Good afternoon.
Hey guys. So nobody's above the law, and insider trading is illegal. And I remember you guys talking about during COVID, when they were coming out with all the vaccines, how a lot of members of Congress invested in those companies before the vaccine was ever released. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering how is it that insider trading is illegal for the populace but not for the politician?
Well, it is illegal, Brian. It's illegal. They just hadn't been charged. Not everybody that speeds is given a ticket. But I'll tell you, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens under the current administration.
And it needs to happen.
We'll see. Well, of course it does. Well, I mean, if anybody's breaking the law, and they're the worst, Brian, they're the worst because they have the public trust. They really should be held to higher standards.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. We're losing. It's almost like we're a third world country now. Because we have people that can kill. I mean, look how many people that the Clintons killed. Yeah. That were going to testify against them. They get shot in the back and nothing's stolen. And they say they were mugged.
Well, we'll see what General Bondi does.
All right.
I'll say this, Brian. If it doesn't happen under this administration, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
And Brian, you're only an alleged murderer until you get tried and convicted. So
that's true.
I mean, I have to say that because I'm held to a different standard than you are, and you can run around talking about the Clintons killing people, and I can't. So, but you're only an alleged murderer until you get tried, until you get convicted, and then you are a convicted murderer.
They may just be really good stock pickers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, it's amazing how many people go to the halls of Congress, Jay. You and I know a particular individual.
Stab us in the back. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Spencer stabbed us in the Bacchus. His name was Spencer Bacchus, and I called him Spencer stabbed us in the Bacchus. He was a representative for the 6th Congressional District, and I think I have this about right, that when he served for about, I want to say 12 years, he went into Congress, and he was worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $700,000. And he left Congress 12 years later, and he was worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $12 million. And most of it was from stock trading.
Yeah, well, he's not the only one. There's some guy on the internet who tracks Nancy Pelosi stock deals. I guess they have to disclose when they do them or whatever. And he says if you had bought the same thing Nancy Pelosi bought with $100,000 or whatever, here's where you would be. And it is great. I mean, it's astounding. Certainly beating the S&P 500. So we don't know. We don't know if they're guilty of a crime, but man, there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of smoke. And if this Department of Justice does not investigate that, then no one ever will, man. I'm just putting it down there where the goats can get to it.
Well, I've been a little bit, you know what? I try to be hesitant to judge. We have to remind ourselves we're 81 days in. I was not as impressed with, some of the political theater around these Epstein files. I don't even think we're going to find anything good in the Epstein files, or I certainly don't believe that there's necessarily a smoking gun, but some of the circus that surrounded what they did, and eventually nothing was really released. And then, I'm a little disappointed, and I don't know if you've caught up with this. It's more of a local deal, but, there's a local organization, the Tennessee Star, that's been trying to they've been suing the Department of Justice for
I saw that. Because they gave it to somebody, right?
They gave it to Megan Kelly, a national podcaster. And look, I understand, people say, well, she's on our side and all that. Well, that doesn't matter.
No, I won't see it.
Yeah. I mean, why should we have to filter what we learn about it through her? Right. If it is able to be released to her, why couldn't you release it?
Then everybody should have it. I agree with that 100%, man.
Someone said that the St. Clair Center in Murfreesboro is on St. Clair Road. And he wonders if maybe that's named after Pops, too. I don't know.
No, the St. Clair Center is not. I think they named that just out of the
after
road.
The road.
But yeah, there's like a little area there. Yeah, my grandfather, he worked at the railroad station. I think he may have been the station manager, and maybe that's why they named that street after him. I never really heard that whole story, but it looked real good up on the wall in my bedroom.
That's so good.
And my brother and my cousins.
Oh, yeah.
They had to have a lot of those signs made.
I bet. It's like it reminded me a little bit of there was some part of America where they had a 420 sign.
Yeah, it was in Colorado.
And the dopers kept stealing it, and so they changed it to 419 and a half or something like that.
Right.
So that the dopers would stop stealing it. Sandra writes in and says, Matt, it is funny how you sound more Southern when you talk to Jay. I do. It is true. I do.
Sandra, I have no idea what you were talking about.
Jay says I talk normal around him. I did that around my grandpa too. My grandfather had Jay draws it out of me. He draws the Thompson, no P in Thompson back out of me. Calvin, you are next up with our man Jay St. Clair. What is going on, Calvin?
Hey guys, quick question. I got a property question for Jay. I own a house in Wisconsin on the lake, and the lot is about 3/4 of an acre. The house takes up maybe 1/4 of an acre. The rest of it is wooded property.
Okay.
Up a hill. My neighbor the other day decided to get his chainsaw out and started cutting down my trees.
Mm-hmm.
And my other neighbor called me and said, hey, did you give him permission? I said, no. So I called the neighbor that was cutting the trees down and said, what are you doing? He says, well, the trees are too tall and it's blocking my view to the lake.
Right.
And I said, well, you're on my property line. He goes, well, I really don't know where the property line is.
Right.
So then my neighbor, the other neighbor, took pictures, sent them to me. He didn't cut down one or two trees. He cut down a whole bunch of trees.
Yeah. So how can I help you, Calvin?
My question is, the property's in Wisconsin.
Right.
I've been told to get an attorney, sue him.
Yeah. Right.
And, I mean, he called me, he said, I'll plant trees and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Well, the trees aren't going to grow back.
Yep. Here's my suggestion. Here's what I would do first. I wouldn't hire a lawyer first, Calvin. I would, in your mind, come up with a sum of number, a number that in your mind would compensate you for him killing your trees. I don't know if they're still laying there, if you hold them on. There may be some value to the lumber. But I would come up in your mind, and I might bump it up a little bit. And what would make you can't get the trees back, Calvin. They're gone. The only thing you can get is money. And so you need to decide in your mind how much money you think he owes you, and then I just go tell him that. Because here's the deal: if he had approached you before this and said, "Hey, you know what, Calvin, your trees are blocking my view. I would like to buy your trees. I will pay you for me to get a better view." That's what he should have done, but he didn't, and so now he's going to have to pay a premium for it. So yes, so come up.
The other concern
go ahead.
I have is the property his property's on a hill, so there's rainwater that runs down to my house.
Yeah, well, see, that's what all these things you have to take into consideration, Calvin, to decide what the fair compensation is for you. Because if you sue him and you go to court, here's going to be the most important question. Well, how much does he owe you? What do you claim he owes you? And so that's what you got to figure out. And if you have to talk to some experts to come up with that number, do that. And the runoff, the erosion may be part of that. But you need to come up in your mind. You don't need a lawyer to help you. You need to come up in your mind with what you think he owes you. And if part of that means building some dams or berms to keep from runoff happening, include that in your demand. And then go to him and say, well, this is what you owe me. And then we'll see where it goes from there.
That I should call the police because he trespassed on my land. I don't want to do it.
Where you been getting your legal advice, Calvin? You need to call this show for legal. I bet that lawyer got his law degree at Walmart.
No, Google.
Call a real Calvin.
He got on the Googles.
Call a real lawyer. Call a real lawyer. I bet that guy went to Harvard.
Oh no! Here we go. Oh no! That's the worst. You
come up in your mind, Calvin. What he can't. The trees are gone, Calvin. You can't get the trees back. The only thing you can get's money. So you need to take everything into consideration, and you decide what you think he owes you, and add 25% to it. I learned that from reading Donald Trump's book, The Heart of the Deal. You come in high, and then you negotiate down to where you want to be.
Calvin, let us know how it goes, brother.
Thank you, Brady.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. Let us know how it goes.
Quit talking to those Harvard lawyers, Calvin.
Man, oh man, talking to a Harvard lawyer is worse than talking to a Google lawyer or a Walmart lawyer. Crystal is in McMinnville with a question for Jay St. Clair. Hey, Crystal.
Hey, how are y'all?
Great.
Okay, so my husband and I built a home. It has taken us 3 years to complete because we have tried to do everything that we could ourselves. But, of course, we've had to hire some contractors. We hired a company out of Dixon to come and do the drywall. And we had issues with them the entire time. They were drinking and smoking in my new house, and there was all kinds of screws hanging out. You can see all the seams. Things weren't sanded good. They didn't feather out, the mud and just all the things.
So how can I help you, Crystal?
I don't know if I can do anything about that because I had to hire another company to come in behind them and fix it all. Is there?
Have you already paid? Have you paid the drywall company in full?
Yes, everybody's been paid.
Yeah, well, that may have been a mistake, but all you can really do is you can start by writing them a letter. You really need a lawyer to help you on this, Crystal. Lawyer letters just carry more weight. But you can write him and say, well, this is what it costs to have somebody come in behind you and fix it. And that they owe you that, Crystal. By law, they owe you that. And they're probably not going to pay it. And then all you can really, you could sue them in General Sessions Court. How much money did it take to fix it?
So it was about, I think it was $5,000 to $7,000 just to have the company come in to fix all of that.
Right. Yeah. So you could sue them yourself. You could sue them in General Sessions Court. And we joke a lot about how it takes $400 to file a lawsuit. Actually, I looked it up recently. In General Sessions Court, it's only $175 or $187.50. And you could file that lawsuit yourself and not have to hire a lawyer. And for that amount of money at issue, that's probably what's in your best interest. I'd start off by send them a letter, send them a copy of the bill that you got from the company that came in and did the repair work, Crystal, and then say, you owe me this amount of money, and if you don't pay me, I'm going to sue you.
Do I have
and then see what happens.
This was at the end of 2023.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're in plenty of time, but I wouldn't wait around. I'd go ahead and do that right away.
So
Send
you're
them a
saying
copy.
letter.
I'm sorry.
Send them a letter.
Yep, that's the first thing I do. Send them a demand letter and say that the work you did was no good. I had to hire a company, come in behind you and fix it. Here is the bill they sent me. I paid them. You owe me this money. If you don't pay me this money, I'll sue you.
Okay.
They may ignore you, Crystal, or they may want to negotiate with you because they don't want to get sued, but they'll probably just ignore you. But then when you sue them, they'll talk to you then.
Right.
And
Yes,
you can't sue them yourself in General Sessions Court. I think it's $187.50.
I can handle that.
Don't forget the 50 cents.
Yeah.
Crystal, can I ask you a question?
Me?
Yeah.
Sure.
I love accents, and I love trying to guess where people come from. You have the most beautiful accent, and
Wow,
I just have to believe you were born and raised in Middle Tennessee.
You are exactly right.
Exactly where?
I was born in Cookeville and raised in Nashville, so I'm a little bit of everything. But now I live in Nixonville. So.
Well, okay. Well, I was born in Dunlap and spent a lot of time in Crossville in that area. So that's why your voice, I think, is so pleasing to me. And
well,
you have kind of you have sort of an upper crust sound to you don't talk like I do. I bet you grew up as a member of a country club.
Uh-oh.
Doubt it. Not at all.
No. Crystal says no, Jay.
No.
You have a lovely voice.
Well,
I came to the country and I've never left.
Well, send them that letter, and then when they ignore you, sue them. And then if you need some little help with that, I would be delighted to help you. You can find me on the internet. We can't hide, and I'd love to help you with that.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
thank you, Crystal. All right, take care. Jay, this coming in from, you nailed the Middle Tennessee, Jay, by the way.
Yeah.
Nailed the Middle Tennessee. You're always good at that. He's always been good.
Spent a lot of time there. Spent a lot of time there.
Question for Jay. My mother was deceased in 2015. How long should I keep her paperwork? I'm the only one left in my family. Both my parents and my only sibling have passed away. That's from Michael on the Super Text line.
You know, I wish they'd said exactly what kind of paperwork, Matt. If there's a will, I would keep it forever. There's no requirement by law. I think tax returns only have to be kept for 5 years. But I would keep the will forever. It really kind of depends on what kind of paperwork you're talking about. If you're talking about bank records, throw them away. Mm-hmm. If you're talking about tax returns that are they're more than 5 years old, throw them away. I've purged all mine. I can't imagine, deeds, don't throw away a deed. I'd keep deeds, and I would keep wills. I don't think there's anything else you really need to keep after 10 years. I can't think of anything else. Well, if you have an autographed football from Johnny Majors,
keep that.
I would keep that.
Mm-hmm.
I would keep that.
Don't throw that one away. Pat writes in, Jay, and says, ask Jay if there's a statute of limitations on sign stealing.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a statute. Okay, Pat, that's fine. Yes, because I trust me, I did not talk about this, certainly not on the radio, until the statute of limitations. I think it's a 5-year statute, and that ran many, many years ago.
One more quick one. Connie, if you can get the question in quick, we can do it. We've only got about a minute or two. You're up, Connie, out of Cookeville.
Thanks. I have a piece of property that's landlocked, and there's no easement. We had verbal permission to access the property, which has now been rescinded. What can we do about that?
You know, I looked at this recently, Connie. This is a real technical issue, but there is a way in the law to get an easement of necessity. That's what it's called. In other words, you own a piece of property, but it's landlocked. You don't own the property to get in there. You have to cross somebody else's property to get to your property, right?
Correct.
The law recognizes that as a problem, and the law does offer a solution. I've got bad news for you, Connie. You're not going to be able to handle this yourself. You're just going to need a lawyer to do that. But there is a way to accomplish that, and it's called an easement of necessity.
Okay.
But you're just going to have to get somebody that does. How valuable is the property, Connie?
It went at auction for $110,000.
Yeah. Well, get a lawyer.
Yeah. Let us know how that goes, Connie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, take care.
Thank you
You
very
just
much.
get yourself a lawyer, and but there's a fairly simple remedy. You feel like, Jay? They just folks.
Well, it's not simple. It's actually a very real estate law is stuck in the 19th century, man. And here's the reason they do it. The law is back at the time they wanted land to be developed, man. They didn't want it to sit fallow,
right?
And so if there was a landlocked piece of land, well, they said, well, we want somebody to farm it. And so we're going to force one of their neighbors to give them the right to come across the land. You may have to pay for it, but the law recognizes that as a problem, and there is a way to solve it.
Jay, my friend, you know how much I love these segments. You know how much I love you, and I appreciate you, brother. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you, brother. Love you too.